So, hi, I'm Michael Stevenson, producing artistic director at Capital Stage, and joining me is Jeffrey Lowe. Jeffrey, who directed Be It Gone for us last year, one of my favorite shows. And Jeffrey, I'll let you introduce yourself. Talk about yourself a little bit.
Hi, everyone. I am a director and a playwright down in the Bay Area. And as Michael said, my first experience directing at Capital Stage was last season's Be It Gone, which was just a real highlight of my career and just one of the most fun times I've ever had. And the plan currently is for me to come back and direct Lauren Yee's The Great Leap. Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully as soon as we're allowed to come back out.
From my Godzilla leaves town. We're back. Yeah. Hey, let me ask.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you describe kind of your career path and how you got where you're going? And I think you mentioned you're casting director for TheaterWorks down in the Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about what drew you into theater, and did you start as wanting to be a director or an actor, or?
Yeah, my path into theater is similar to a lot of folks in that I auditioned for a play in high school because I had a crush on a girl. and I was like,
start
sure.
Any theater career. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, I was like, not afraid to speak in front of people. And she was like, hey, you should audition for this play I'm going to be in. And I'm like, I really should. You're right. And little did I know that it was going to be the start of a long, long theater habit that I haven't kicked yet. But essentially, I joined theater in high school, maybe my junior year in high school, which at the time felt like a bit of a late start. But I did it for fun, and I didn't really realize how seriously I was going to take it until the next year, when my drama teacher had the senior students in the drama class write and direct their own plays. And sort of from there, I realized how powerful I thought the medium could be and how important it was for folks to feel the ability to share their story and feel representation. I mean, if I looked back on it, I still have a video. It was like a one-act play, and I have a video of it. And I'd never watch it because I'm sure it's terrible. It's like this really angsty, like high school kid wrote it thing, but in my head, it was the best thing I've ever done. So I refuse to look at it. I still have such a great memory of how wonderful this thing was, but I'm sure it'll be ruined as soon as I pop in the video.
In 2098, they open the time capsule, they'll be like, this was a treasure. This was the best thing he ever did.
It's like he never shared it, but he actually was the best. But yeah, so I did that, and then I went to college and I studied both journalism and theater. I still didn't reckon I was going to do theater for a living, but I really enjoyed it, so I still went to college for it. But had journalism sort of in my back pocket, which I'm really glad I don't do journalism right now. That sounds like a rough and tumble world to be in. After that, I moved back to the Bay Area with my folks, and I just sort of, jumped on my computer and emailed every theater company I could find and just said, hey, I'm a director and a writer, and I'll do anything. And the first thing I did, I was a sound mixer for TheaterWorks' New Works Festival. And because I'm sort of annoying and talkative, I went to their then associate artistic director, Leslie Martinson, and I said, hey, I'm the sound guy, but I also want to be a director. I just finished school. Is there anything I can do? Can I assist you? Can I do anything? And she just so happens to be looking for an assistant director for a show that the Capital Stage audience is really familiar with, Superior Donuts, by Tracy Letts.
Yeah.
And I jumped on board to be her assistant director there, and that started a relationship where I was her assistant director for 9 straight years. And then I eventually joined the staff at TheaterWorks and became her assistant.
Wow.
And her very deeply appreciative mentee. And then eventually she moved on to another career opportunity. And I was still hanging around at TheaterWorks and said, hey, if you need a casting director, I know how to work the databases she created. So it just seems like the easiest choice. So that's sort of how I ended up doing what I was doing. But in addition to like my work working at TheaterWorks on as an administrator on the staff there, I was assistant directing. I was an apprentice at Oregon Shakespeare Festival. I assistant directed at the San Jose Rep, and while I was doing all of that, I was still trying to, direct my Shakespeare productions in a pizza shop. Is how I describe it. Where I was trying to cut my teeth and learn how to be a director and do all that. So eventually, it all worked out, which I feel really fortunate about. But
so you knew early on directing was the thing for you then.
To be honest, early on, I thought I really was passionate about playwriting, and that's still the case. Playwriting is a real passion of mine. And the way I got into directing was I was too, what's the word I'm looking for? I was too nervous to allow other directors to direct my work. I've since gotten over that because I've now smartened up and realized the benefit of having another eye. But that's how I got into directing. And then eventually, as I was going along and just trying to do whatever I could to get my work out there, I realized that people weren't really interested in a brand new right out of college playwright, but I could direct someone else's work or I could assistant direct, and there wasn't really such a thing as assistant playwrights. So, but the wonderful thing is as I kept working as a director, although it wasn't the original plan, I really found my artistic voice, and I found the power of sort of fostering those stories. So I would say I'm equally as passionate both as a director and a playwright, but I wouldn't say that I came in right at the top as a director. But I never considered myself an actor. That's for sure.
That's the usual way too. Yeah. But and you know what I love about hearing people's career stories is a lot of it always has to do with chutzpah. It's just putting yourself out there and, making yourself available and being flexible and taking the work that comes and building it from there. I think that's a great thing about theater. It really shapes you as your own kind of entrepreneur for yourself, and the better you get at that, the more opportunities you make for yourself.
Yeah.
What, so I'm just curious. So now we're all shut down. Can't do any theater right now. Why is it important? Why does it matter? We can all watch Netflix. Why? What's the deal?
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about this time is I think that what we as theater people, both our audiences and the artists, have always believed, I think is being pushed right to the forefront. And I think there's no replacement for direct human connection. I think that there's obviously really wonderful strengths in film and television and watching something on Netflix, and that stuff's not going to go away. But I think neither is theater. I think that for me, there's a huge difference between sitting alone or with one other person in front of a television and sort of having a very solitary artistic experience. And there's a difference between sitting with a group of, 50 to 300 people and having a shared experience.
Yeah.
And I think that right now when we're forced to be alone, I think we're realizing the power of that. I could use Viet Gone as an example. The first time I ever watched that show was at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. And it was during an Asian American theater conference. And 80% of those audience members were Asian American theater artists who had this really visceral experience of feeling like they were understood and represented in a way that they were not used to. And for me, that we very much still would have had that experience if we were watching that alone. But there was something so special about looking around and feeling like we were all having that same experience. And like when you were trying to hide your sniffles, you heard sniffles across the stage. And like, it was just a really special thing. And I think that all of us remembering that we're human is something that I hope that once we're able to come back out, we remember to value a great deal.
I'll just never forget watching Jomar in that last scene. The crazy reactions in the audience. People came up to me about that show just left and right. And part of it was, I'll tell my Ed Lee story. You know this story. So Ed walked into rehearsal one day and he realized everybody in the room was Asian American. And he felt his shoulders kind of relax. And he goes, oh, I was holding this tension I didn't even realize I had. And I thought,
oh, wow. Yeah.
That's amazing. And it was really pivotal. And that show just killed for me. But what do you need to be as a director What's the most important quality? How do you approach a script? What do you do?
I think for me, it's you were talking about flexibility earlier, and I think for me, and obviously every director directs a different way, but for me, what I hope to do is to create an atmosphere in a rehearsal room where everyone feels like they're able to take their greatest risks. I try to create an atmosphere where everyone feels safe to make mistakes, because one of those mistakes is the best idea in the room. That like we all have ideas of like how to read a script and do it sort of the standard way, or make the most obvious choice. And there's certain rooms where when you're afraid to make a mistake, you're just going to go to the safest choice. And the show could be fine and is usually fine. But to create really special theater is when everyone feels like they've put a little bit of themselves into it, and they feel like they have created something very individual and unique. So I think for me, a strong director is flexible in that they're able to sort of play with the balance of someone who is prepared enough and has enough background, has enough information, has enough research to answer questions, but not so prepared that they can't identify the best idea in the room, because oftentimes it's not the director's idea. I think that a great director should acknowledge the lighting designer knows more about lighting than the director. The actors know more about acting than the director. And the director's there to sort of foster everyone being the best versions of themselves.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I always think of it as chief collaborator, really. You're the kind of hub for all these people to interpret the story and go. And okay, so now Crazy's last question. What's your dream job? What are you shooting for? What do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh gosh, I live down the street from Netflix, so they should just. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. There are parts of me that really want to be, an artistic director at a theater company.
Yeah.
I think that when I finished college, I really I wanted to be in the room where I could help make decisions on whose story was told, and that's sort of. My personal artistic mission is to help foster the stories that need to be told and help highlight those. But, it's a combination of looking forward and being like, hey, maybe those opportunities are out there. But also I'm just so appreciative to be where I am, because I know that there's a lot of people just as talented or more talented than me that haven't had the opportunities that I've had. Sure. So it's a constant mental exercise to remind myself that you're in a good spot and you should be happy with it.
Yeah. I've been running and listening to Hamilton at the same time, and they just did miraculous in one of the great pieces of theater that's been made, I think. And Who Lives, Who Dies, who tells your story, and it's like that storytelling part. That's what I'm so interested in. I asked actually Ian Hobbs the other day, what's your dream role? And he goes, I just love doing the process. I don't look for a particular role. I just like being engaged in the creation and the collaboration of that. And I thought, oh, wow, that's really interesting. You got an endless hunger for story, kind of. Well, you will be. Go ahead. You go.
Well, I was just saying, in a similar way to what Ian is saying, the high of when you've really nailed something in rehearsal is something that I'm just always trying to achieve.
Yeah.
I remember I was talking to I don't know if you know Ron Campbell.
I don't think I do.
Ron Campbell's this amazing actor. He's an actor, and also like he was on tour as a clown for Cirque du Soleil for like, I don't know, a decade or something. And he was saying something that really resonated with me, which was comedy is excruciating to rehearse, but so fun to perform. But drama is so fun to rehearse, but excruciating to perform, because you have to live it every day.
Joss Whedon said, he said if he's getting in a bind and he's who to cast, he always casts the funny actor, because the funny actor can do drama, but not necessarily the dramatic actor cannot maybe do funny. And he's always looking for that, for that kick in that person. That's a great, I love that idea that rehearsal, solving that problem in rehearsal it's a great thing. Well, you will be back next season. Any last things you want to share with your Cap Stage viewers?
I hope everyone stays safe. I've felt so welcome from the Cap Stage family, both artistically, administratively, and the audiences out there. So I can't wait to see you all again. And I hope you all stay healthy and come out to the theater and to local restaurants and everything as soon as we're able to, because, the community is strong and we want to make sure we keep it that way once we're allowed to.
Right on. Thank you, Jeffrey Lowe.